My name is Tim T. I've been doing this for 6 years. So I've been hunting here in Florida all my life. I grew up hunting here. And I've never had anything like walk right out in front of me and look at me like a lot of the other hunters, some of the other hunters say they do. And I've always been interested in Bigfoot and wondered if they were real. And I never, all the years of hunting here, I never even thought about them being here in Florida. I always thought they were out in the Northwest. So just watching some of the TV shows at night, and they never really showed anything. So I got to wondering if they were really any ground here anywhere. And I started looking it up on YouTube to see if anybody local was showing anything. And I actually found two people that were actually showing something here in Florida. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go out there and start looking and start using my hunting skills, my tracking skills, and see if I can find something. So I was a pretty good hunter, but since I've been doing this, I've really been sharpening my tracking skills. I've been learning a lot more about tracking. So about my third time going out 6 years ago, I found some really good footprints that were not human. They were deep in the mud, they were straight in line, and there was 6-inch footprints and there was 9-inch footprints. So as I kept going back to that area, I started finding some tree structures that didn't look like normal tree structures. And as I kept going back, I started finding more footprints. But the more I kept going back to those areas and finding the footprints, I knew they were hanging out in that area. But doing this, it took a little while. I started out just filming with a cell phone, and after a little while, I took an older second cell phone and I was filming, and that's how I started out doing this. So after a while doing it, I started learning more about the cameras. I got a pretty nice camcorder, and I was filming with it. And I got a GoPro, and I started putting it on my chest, wearing it. So I was filming with a GoPro and a camcorder. And then after a while, a couple of years back, I got a thermal camera. I was going to help another researcher do a documentary, and he wanted me to have something I could film at night with. So I was doing some research on the thermal cameras, and it said you can use them during the daytime. So once I learned that, and then I found one that I liked and I could afford, and then I got it. But that researcher, he got in a car accident and passed away before he could film that documentary. He actually filmed one before, and then he was going to do a second one, and I was going to be a part of that. But since getting that thermal camera because of him, I catch stuff out there in the daytime. I catch stuff at night with it and I catch stuff at daytime, during the day, but it's because it works off the heat. The light doesn't affect it at all. Or your normal cameras work off the light. So something else I explain to people too. We only see 1% of the light spectrum. We see the colors of the rainbow, and there's a lot more out there. So with the thermal camera, it's seeing a different light that we can't see with our eyes. And then the different cameras, they'll pick up stuff too, because they work off the light, but they work different than our eyes do. So you can catch stuff sometimes with the different cameras. So I've caught this stuff on every camera that I have: the cell phone, the GoPro, the camcorder, the thermal camera. I've caught them 5 foot away from me with the thermal camera. My wife's sitting up here. She was walking behind me one day. We walked through this trail, and it was real thick on both sides of us. It was like almost right up to our legs. It was so thick. And I heard her say, I heard something right there. And I turned around and said, "What'd you say?" And she was pointing right in the bushes about 5 feet from her and said, "I heard something right there." So I'm walking over there with the thermal camera, filming and looking all around. I didn't hear anything moving. So once we left there and got home and I'm going through my footage, I see this real human looking face right there, like 5 feet away from me, right there in the bushes. Right where she said, I heard something right then. Yeah, and you can see it pretty good. You can see a good part of its face, its nose, its teeth, real human looking. And I catch a lot of stuff like that. And I've learned too that when I go through my video footage, I got to slow it down. They move a lot different than we do. They move faster than we do. A lot of times, if you're driving, walking, and just filming, and if you look at that footage, you won't see nothing. But if you slow it down, then you might see one standing there looking at it and watching it. If you slow it down a little bit more, you'll see it move its head a little bit. So I've learned to slow the camera down, the footage down while I'm watching too. I got a YouTube channel, and my newest video, I went back to some footage I had from 3 years ago, where I caught one up in the tree with the thermal camera. When I pan around, and you can see, and as I pan around, then there's something else that comes up. It comes around a little bit around the tree branch, and then goes back. It's black. It's black hawk. The thermal camera I use black hawk all the time. I really like that setting. So you can see whatever this is, it's black. It comes up, comes around the tree a little bit, and goes back. And then you can see it back behind the leaves. And then as I scan back over, then you can see him again. You can see his face really good. He moved a little. You can see his face. You can see his eyes real good. But it's so quick that if you didn't slow it down, you wouldn't even see it. So when I slow it down, I got a timer on the thermal camera. The top there's a timer. You can see in 8 seconds. In 8 seconds when I came by him, and then went back over him. He moves his eyes and eyebrows a whole bunch of times. He turns this way facing me. At first, he's like watching my friend of mine that's out in front of me. And then he turns facing me, facing directly at me. You can see the whole time when I slow it down. You can see each movement he's making with his eyes and his eyebrows. You can see his head turning. So I catch a lot of stuff out there like that too, just out there. And I've learned a lot about quantum physics. Quantum physics explains the light spectrum, and it explains all about the different parts of light that we can't see, the X-rays, the gamma rays, the microwaves, and that's why I use some of these tools I have. I use the trifield meter a lot when I'm out there. I use a lot of times on RF, which is radio frequency, and it'll catch on. A lot of times I come to realize that we're being scanned while we're out there sometimes. The radio frequency will all of a sudden go up really high. It's just like standing beside the microwave. When you put the microwave and put something in it, turn it on, you heat it, and you're standing right there beside it. It gives off a lot of real high microwaves. And that's what we're getting when we're out there in the woods. We're out there in the swamp where there's nothing around. There's no cell phone towers around. The RF will pick up cell phone towers. It'll pick up stuff like that. It'll pick up off my phone if I'm using GPS. If I'm using my GPS navigation going around, it'll make it go off on the RF. But without anything like that on, just being out there being by a tree structure or looking at some footprints, and all of a sudden it starts going off really strong, getting hit with the microwave. And also wanted to use it too with the magnetic. The standard magnetic on it, and but we give off 0.01, just as like from the human body. So most of the time when we're walking around up there, rather than that's what it's showing, reading on the meter, is 0.01. And there was one time when right at daylight, a lot of times I'll get out there and I'm walking in before daylight to get to certain areas. So as it's starting to get daylight, I can be sitting there, turning the cameras on, filming everything, filming the birds and stuff, listening to them before it gets daylight. So I was walking into this one tree where I leave apples and candy bars a lot. And on the thermal camera, you can see this face on the tree, right in the middle of the tree before. So when I get up there and I squat down and take off my backpack and I'm getting apples out, and I set the trifield meter down right in front of me, and all of a sudden it starts going up like 30 something, 30 up to 40, like 41.0 on the magnetic. I think it was right there in the tree above me, opening the portal, watching me as I was sitting there squatting down and putting apples out. He hadn't been opening the portal while they're watching them. And I say they use the trees a lot because of energy in the trees. I've learned all the different trees out there, they feed each other through the root system. They feed each other, so there's energy all the time moving through there. The mushroom system, it goes all through the forest floor, feeding the trees and stuff, and feeding the mushroom. And I think there's a lot of energy that goes through those that they can use. They have a way of accessing the portals or using the trees. And I think that's good. A lot of times you hear people seeing like holding a tree and they're peeking out from behind it. They stay right up next to the tree. I think they're getting the energy off of it. So I think that's what we're doing there. Being a hunter too, since I've been doing this, I've been studying and learning more and more about tracking and gotten a lot better at it. Earlier this year, I found some footprints, me and a friend of mine, and he's a hunter too, so he knew about tracks and tracking. And we found some 7¼ inch footprints and 8 inch footprints, and they were going straight in line, and they were over by the Withlacoochee River over in the Richland Wildlife Management area. We followed them for half a mile, and they were further apart. They were further apart than we stood. And we followed them. They were deep impressions too. I casted on 7 of them. And I gave my buddy 3 of them. I kept 4 because one of them broke when I picked it up. He wasn't quite dry enough yet. But we kept them. But they go deep into the mud, into the sand where we can. I'll stand there a lot of times and just stomp my foot down as hard as I can. Beside them, and it won't even make an impression. Well, when they're walking, they're leaving like an inch and a half deep into the dirt there. So I find a lot of stuff like that on my YouTube channel. If you don't have my card, I got something in my pocket. But my YouTube channel, I teach a lot about tracking too. I teach a lot about the tracking skills that I've learned. Not just from doing this too, but the animals and everything I've learned through all the years of hunting. I like to teach people that go out there and learn what animals are out there. Learn animals, learn how to find the tracks, so you know what they're out there, learn what they're eating, learn how they move around. Because the animals out there too are a big food source for these Sasquatch. There's a lot of wild hogs out there, and the wild hogs are a real big source of food for them. And the deer also, deer out there. Like I said, I've been doing this for like 6 years. If you heard any of the other speakers that were here, they're really good people. I've been out with a lot of them from one time to another. Out there in the woods with them, they're real good people. I like to always talk about them too. There's times where, like Troy and Desi, they found a track of 19 footprints, and they spent 6 hours documenting, measuring them, filming them, and everything. And they actually wrote a paper on it and sent it off to Dr. Jeff Meldrum and to Cliff Rockland. So they've done stuff like that. And they were actually trying to call me that morning. I was at work, so they were trying to call me and ask me if I could come out. And when they found me, but I was at work that day. So the same place that they found the footprints, they were getting other stuff. They were getting growls, and whistles. And the one story I told you was one that looked like he was in the tree, and when I got there, he was above me opening the portal. That was in the same area, the same place that got the footprint. You know. And then I caught another one too. A couple of years back, I caught another one with the thermal camera, and there was 4 of us walking through there, and I was filming with the thermal camera as I'm walking. And you can see him. He looks in. His arm looks like it's hairy. He looks like a human face. With kind of like almost like kind of a beard. And none of us could see him with our eyes. And I went back here earlier this year, looking for that same spot, because I knew right about where it was, where I was filming. So I went back in there looking for the same place, and I set up the thermal camera, and I went out and marked different lengths, like 15 yards, 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, and I went out there myself, and I was measuring the trees too, the width of the trees, everything, trying to line everything up perfectly to where he was, and the same trees and everything. And I figured he was 15 yards away from me when I filmed him. And he was about 9 foot tall. He was a lot bigger than me. So I do comparisons on my channel too and stuff like that. Earlier this year, I caught one with a drone. I got a drone that I was using. I set it down in the sand on the trail. Once I got up in there a little ways, I told my buddy Dan, he was with me that day. I told him I want to fly the drone up and let it fly by me and you while we're walking on the trail, because we had a long ways to go before we went off trail and we went back into our area. So I set the drone up over there on the sand, trail to the sandy area. So I fly it up. You can't really tell on the phone screen. Like little bit details. I don't need to watch that right then, but when I flew the drone around, had it follow me in, but when I got home and was looking at the footage, when the drone lifted up, I seen something peeking behind the tree, and I tried zooming in on it and cropping it, and it was like when you zoom in on it, it blows it some. So I'm like, that's the one I can tell, I can see it, I can see it, but when I zoom in on it and crop it, zoom it blurs. So the very next weekend I went back and I took the drone and I put it right on about the same spot and flew it up, and I kept kind of flying it around this spot, trying to make sure I got the same angle, the same height, to see if there was something there. And I filmed it with my camcorder. I put the camcorder up there and I filmed around with it and held it up real high and filming around, trying to see if there was something there that was permanent, like part of the tree that maybe I couldn't, that I wasn't on. It was maybe part of the tree or something that was looking like there was something there. But when I went back home there too and looked at all that, there's nothing there. It was there before and it's not there now. So with having it drawn up like that while I'm over walking around, I was able to take that footage and do a comparison. And I lined up the best I could, real close to where you can see me standing there, and then the other shot here where you can see it there, and it was like twice as big as mine. The head was twice as big as mine, and I'm pretty sure it was a female. And also that morning, I didn't even really think about it, but when we pulled up there that morning, and I got out of the truck and I went around to the other side to get my backpack and stuff. It was a turkey feather laying there by the other side of the truck. And I'm like, wow, they just gifted me a turkey feather. And that person walking in thinking about being a turkey feather. They know I like the turkey hunt because they're watching me all the time. So I got the turkey feather, I pushed the truck, and we went out there, and like I said, I called it with the drone. And in that same footage too, it looks like there was another one, a bigger one, comes back real dark, which I think was a male. He looks real dark looking in the footage, and he's back a little bit further in the bushes. And this one I think was a female. The one that I caught her head, and then I compared it to the size of mine. And I'm pretty sure she gifted me the turkey feather that morning when we got there. Because it was only like, wasn't even 100 yards up the trail when I set the drone down and lifted it up. So I've had them gift me other stuff too. I've had them gift me a couple of deer skulls before, 8-point buck deer skulls with antlers and everything still on it, really good. And I think that's because they've been out there watching me the whole time I've been hunting. All these years I've been out there hunting and stuff. So I think they gift me stuff like that. Um, like I said, I've been studying quantum physics a lot, the light spectrum, and now I'm seeing that there's something going on with the paranormal and with the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Skunky. They're not just flesh and blood. I'm catching orbs a lot of times out there with the game camera, with the thermal camera, and I'm catching orbs and stuff out there. So I think there's a lot going on that's kind of combined that the quantum physics is explaining more. I teach a lot of people about we're all made of atoms, everything's made out of atoms and everything vibrates. The chair, microphone, us. And I think they vibrate at a different frequency than we do. And I think that's why they move so fast, they move different than we do. And that's why I can slow the footage down and then I can see them moving. Within a few seconds you can see them moving a lot. And that's because of I think quantum physics is explaining that because of the atoms and everything, and because of the light spectrum. But sometimes we can see some of the things with our eyes, sometimes we can't. Yeah, and as far as too, like the vocals, we'll get vocals on camera sometimes that we can't hear with our ears. And there's been a couple of times where I've actually heard them. When I walked up in the woods, I've heard them do a vocal sound that it almost sounds like an ape, kind of an ape-like sound. I've heard them do that a couple of times. Like I said, I've been doing this for 6 years now, and it's been a learning process. So I've been learning a lot about the different cameras and using them, going through and editing my footage, going through and editing audio. I've learned about the game cameras. Years ago when I was hunting, I never used any kind of game camera or anything like that. So I've learned a lot about the game cameras, using them a lot. I've caught a lot of orbs on the game cameras. Mostly at night, but I have caught a couple of orbs during the daytime on the game camera. Come up the trail, and he's staying steady, the same height, just coming right down the trail. And you can tell it's not any kind of bird or butterfly or nothing like that. I've been watching all that kind of stuff, the butterflies, and you see how they do all kinds of different things. And yeah. But there's a lot of stuff out there that we really don't know what it is, and stuff that I have questions for. I've got where I'm doing experiments. I'll go out there and do experiments with frequencies. Me and my buddy Joey, we went out there in the swamp. We went up to this one area. It's called Devil's Creek, and we're sitting there beside the creek, and I got a couple of cameras filming. I got my phone and my cell phone on a gimbal sitting out here beside me. So I got one angle, and then I got my camcorder sitting behind me here, and I'm sitting there playing the frequency. And while I'm playing the 68 hertz frequency, while I'm doing that, his cell phone dings and he takes it out of his pocket. And somebody had just sent me something about CERN, a video about CERN, and they're trying to open up a portal or something to CERN at the same time I'm playing the frequency. And then he turned it off, and then his phone dinged again while I'm still playing the thing. He said that a friend of him had seen him like a week before, seen some security camera footage, and it was popping up again on his phone. So I'll play the frequency for like a minute. I'll turn it off, we'll put it in, I'll turn it back on, play it for a minute. So while I'm doing that, while I'm playing the frequency, he said he probably got his phone, the video coming up on CERN and stuff, and he's asking me what it is. And then he puts it back in his pocket, and he's got both his hands in his pocket. You can see it with my cell phone that point towards me in both. You can see him standing there with his hands in his pocket. You can see him standing there still with the phone in my hand, playing the frequency. And you start seeing this little thing on my camcorder behind me. You start seeing this little thing, this little light start oscillating. And it comes over here and it's flying around on my hand. Doing it like zigzagging around and oscillating like this and zigzagging around. My camcorder caught doing it while I'm playing at 68 hertz. There's other frequencies I use out there too, like the 528 hertz. I'll sit there and play that, and I always try to explain the frequencies too. Um, I'll write them down some notes, and when I start to play it, I'll talk to the camera and say, this is the frequency I'm using, this is what it's for. So I'm playing the 528 hertz, and all the birds start getting louder, they start getting closer to me, and you can start hearing them really close, and you hear them really loud. And then another time in a different area, I was playing the 423 hertz, and they did the same thing. The birds started getting louder, they're coming really close, and they're all around me close, and they're getting louder. Just hearing them singing and start doing their things and getting really loud. So I think that stuff is it's because of the light spectrum and the frequency that it's making different things go on out there and happen. But let me come down there.